Here we're going to go over some government policies that could be used to help reduce frictional and structural unemployment. Recall that frictional unemployment is short-term unemployment that results from the normal turnover of labor. People who are fired or laid off from jobs and people who quit to look for better jobs will naturally spend some time searching for new jobs. Structural unemployment comes from a mismatch between the skills and other characteristics of workers and the required skills and other characteristics of jobs in the economy. Structural unemployment arises from the reallocation of labor resources as economic conditions change the structure of demand for labor. Like frictional unemployment, structural unemployment is part of the natural rate of unemployment. It is often a longer form of unemployment. We can list a few examples from the United States. Technological advancement and automation in the U.S. automobile industry, which has allowed cars to be produced at a lower cost, is among the causes of structural unemployment for many people who worked in facilities in that industry. Structural unemployment in the U.S. textile industry in the late 1990s and 2000s resulted largely from textile manufacturers shifting operations to other countries with cheaper labor. Many coal miners have become structurally unemployed as preferences among energy sources have changed, and energy has become less expensive to produce from other sources. In the meantime, demand for workers in science and technology fields and for workers with computer coding abilities has grown in the United States. Let's go over some government policies that could be used to help reduce structural and frictional unemployment. Broadly speaking, policies that increase the speed at which labor adapts to structural changes in demand for labor and policies that generally increase labor market flexibility can reduce structural and frictional unemployment. One of the most effective ways to reduce structural unemployment is through education and retraining. Through education, workers can acquire new human capital and learn new skills that are required for jobs that are available in the economy. For workers whose skills are no longer in high demand in the economy, policies that facilitate education and retraining can ease a transition into a new career. Governments can work to improve access, to incentivize people to make use of education and training, and to improve the quality of those programs. There are several ways that the government can facilitate this. Governments can invest more money in public schools and subsidize schools. Higher education at state universities and community colleges allows structurally unemployed workers to learn new skills for which demand is rising among employers. Improving the quality of secondary education helps to ensure that young adults have a deeper and broader set of skills, providing greater initial occupational mobility. Governments can also increase access to education and retraining through student loans. The high cost of higher education makes borrowing money necessary for many people. However, often loans can be too cost prohibitive or entirely inaccessible without government intervention in the market. By backing, subsidizing, or directly providing loans for students, governments can incentivize people to seek higher education and improve access to it. Governments can also work with businesses or incentivize them to provide training for their available jobs. For example, a government can provide subsidies or tax incentives to businesses that provide training to new employees to develop skills. The government can also work with businesses or trade unions to coordinate apprenticeship programs where new entrants in an industry spend time, often several years, learning the skills of a trade on the job under the mentorship of professionals. Governments can also work to improve information in the labor market. It can be difficult to obtain trustworthy information about what skills will be most sought by employers in the future and what job prospects will be in different industries. Firms and work-seeking people with the skills they seek may also face challenges in finding each other. Policies that facilitate and speed the transfer of labor market information can lead to reduced structural and frictional unemployment. Sometimes structural unemployment occurs through geography. Skills that an unemployed worker has may not be in demand in the region of the country where he or she resides, but those skills may be in demand in a different region. However, moving to another region of the country can be expensive, and people may be unable or unwilling to move due to the cost or risk. Government policies that incentivize this sort of relocation, for example, by allowing people to deduct their moving expenses from their taxable income, can help reduce structural unemployment in the economy. Some argue that government policies can increase frictional or structural unemployment by making it more difficult or more expensive for firms to fire or lay off workers. By this argument, firms that know it will be difficult to lay off a worker once hired will be more cautious and reluctant to hire new workers. For example, at least until 2017, strict French labor laws required firms to receive government approval before firing a worker and essentially required that a firm be able to prove that either it couldn't afford to keep the worker's position or that the worker was seriously unfit. Many economists argue that these policies contributed to France's relatively high unemployment rate. New French President Emmanuel Macron proposed reforms to make firing easier and less costly. There are wide-ranging arguments for and against unemployment benefits, but one argument that some economists make against them is that they increase frictional unemployment by reducing the incentive for unemployed workers to quickly find and take new jobs. These economists argue that reducing benefits paid to the unemployed would reduce unemployment.